It was the most devastating conflict in human history. World War II, a war that reshaped borders, redefined power, and revealed the best and worst of humanity. More than 60 million lives were lost, empires fell, new ones rose, and the world we know today was born in its ashes. It began not with guns, but with anger, desperation, and ambition. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles left Germany humiliated and economically shattered. In that vacuum of pain and resentment, a man named Adolf Hitler rose to power, promising revenge, revival, and racial purity. He wasn't alone. Across the world, dictators rose. Mussolini in Italy, Hirohito's military regime in Japan. Fascism spread like fire through a forest of discontent. On September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. 2 days later, Britain and France declared war. World War II had begun. Blitzkrieg and lightning war zone crushed Poland, Denmark, Norway, Belgium, and the Netherlands. In just weeks, France fell, and Hitler turned toward Britain. In 1940, bombs rained over London in the Battle of Britain, but the island stood defiant. This was not just a European war. In Asia, Japan invaded China, committing unspeakable atrocities like the rape of Nanking. In 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, dragging the United States into the war. Soon, the war was everywhere. Deserts of North Africa, jungles of Burma, islands in the Pacific, cities across Europe. But amidst the battles, another war was being fought, in the shadows. In camps hidden behind barbed wire and concrete walls, 6 million Jews, along with millions of others, Romani people, the disabled, political dissidents, were systematically murdered. The Holocaust wasn't a byproduct of war. It was its ideology. It was genocide, organized with chilling efficiency. In 1942, the Axis powers seemed unstoppable, but resistance was building. At Stalingrad, the Soviets held the line and turned the tide in the east. In El Alamein, British forces pushed Germany out of North Africa. At Midway, the US Navy dealt Japan its first major defeat in the Pacific. Slowly, the Allies began to push back. On June 6, 1944, D-Day, Allied forces landed on the beaches of Normandy. It was the beginning of the end. France was liberated. The Soviet Union advanced from the east. Germany was caught in a vice. By May 1945, Hitler was dead and Berlin had fallen. Victory in Europe, VE Day, was declared. But the war was not over. In the Pacific, Japan refused to surrender. The US launched brutal island campaigns, Iwo Jima, Okinawa. Then came the most controversial moment in military history. On August 6, 1945, an American B-29 bomber dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima. 3 days later, another on Nagasaki. More than 200,000 civilians died. Japan surrendered. The war was finally over. World War II left the world in ruins, cities reduced to rubble, nations divided, families destroyed. But out of the wreckage came renewal. The United Nations was founded to prevent such horror again. The Cold War began as the US and Soviet Union emerged as superpowers. The European colonial era faded, and new nations rose. World War II was not just a war of nations, it was a war of ideas. Democracy versus tyranny, freedom versus oppression, humanity versus itself. We remember not to glorify it, but to learn, because the ghosts of war still walk with us. And history, if ignored, has a terrible habit of repeating itself. This was World War II, the war that changed everything.